Can everybody hear me? Am I muted? Yes, so we're going to start right off with, the logistics and the Zoom etiquette of being muted unless you're speaking. We are recording tonight, and feel free to turn your camera off if you need to get up and move around. We will be doing breakout rooms to be able to speak our truth and use our authentic voices a little bit later after Leslie's presentation. ChIME is the Chaplaincy Institute of Maine, and we ordain interfaith ministers who serve with integrity, spiritual presence, and prophetic voice. I'm very pleased to present and introduce Leslie Hyde, who is a ChIME alum from 2015. So our years actually overlapped. ChIME is usually a 2 to 3 year program, and Leslie's been on a quest for her own truth most of her life. She majored in religion and then worked as a guardian ad litem, a school administrator, the president of a major social service agency in Yarmouth, an elected politician, and finally ended up exactly where she was meant to be, at ChIME. She was ordained and served on our board for several years. She's been working as the chaplain for the Yarmouth Police Department since 2015 and worked with the CDC and its coronavirus task force on emotional wellness. She also has a counseling practice called Listening Hearts. And so, without further ado, I will introduce you all to our presenter for tonight's open house, Reverend Leslie Hyde.
Thank you, Myra. I'm a little exhausted listening to that resume. There aren't that many of us here. I was going to have us do it in chat, but I think we have enough time. If people would just briefly say who they are and where they're from, I'd like just a little check-in because I'd like to hear your voices. So unmute yourself, say your name and where you're from, and we'll get into authentic voice with you later on.
Are we doing this popcorn style, or shall I call on people according to my screen?
Why don't you call on them? I think that's so much easier.
Okay. And Val, you're up first. One of our 2022 grads.
You're still fresh, wet behind the ears. I'm Val Lovelace. I live up near Wiscasset, and I'm happy to be here tonight.
Thank you. Autumn?
Hi, everyone. My name is Autumn Cavari, and I live in Bucksport, Maine, and I am delighted to be here to support my spiritual companion, Leslie.
Yay. Thank you.
Oh, lucky you. Autumn is another of our recent grads, and I see Donna is next. Donna Hanel, is that how you say that? Do you want to introduce your name and where you're from?
Yes, sorry, I was trying to unmute it. I'm Donna Hanel, and I live in New Gloucester, and I'm thinking of going to ChIME in the fall, and I am delighted to be here.
Great, thank you. And Lori Milner.
Hi, I just finished the first year at ChIME. Looking forward to my second year. Donna, I hope you do come and join us. Lori Milner, and I live in Chelsea, Maine, which is just outside of Augusta.
Thank you.
Peggy Williams, another ChIME alum. Peggy, I think you actually just muted yourself.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I'm Peggy, and I'm a 2014 grad of ChIME, and I saw Leslie the other day, and she said that she was giving this this talk, and authentic voices is right up my alley. So I'm really happy to be here and to support Leslie and just to be a part of this conversation. Thanks.
Thank you.
Peggy. And now Nadia Gardner. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Nadia. I'm from Medford, Massachusetts. My background is in music and the arts and education, and I'm happy to be here tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Brooking.
Hi, I'm an artist. I live in Westbrook, and I'm looking forward to, I always look forward to talks about authenticity and authentic voice. And it's so nice to see my friend Leslie again after too long of a break with COVID.
Hi, Mary.
Hi, Leslie.
Thank you.
And I see Joyce Morissette. Good to see you.
Hi, Myra. I'm Joyce. I live in Biddeford. And yeah, I love the title, All for Unmuting Ourselves.
Thank you. Welcome. We're getting practice with that tonight, aren't we? Unmute.
Right.
Kate Gray, you're next, if you would.
Hi, I'm Kate Gray. I live in South Portland. I'm thinking about attending ChIME in the fall as well. So I'm super psyched to be here.
Oh, thank you for coming.
Yes, we're excited to see you. All right, next up is Kate Dawn.
Hi, everyone. Just to show you how diverse ChIME can be, I am a scientist. I have a couple of degrees in horticulture and botany, and so all kinds of people can go to ChIME and get what they need from it. That's what I want to say. And I am a 2014 grad, and I was ordained then. And I'm just so happy to be able to listen to this. So thank you, Leslie.
Thank you, Kate.
Thanks. All right, Heather Dunbar is next on my screen.
Hi, everybody. Heather Dunbar. I live in Yarmouth. I've been lucky enough to take an art class with Mary Brooking. Hi. And I've been curious about ChIME for many years. I have a therapy practice here. And so when I saw this come across my screen, I decided to register. And I'm just finishing work, so I'm distracted by my hunger. So that's why I'm going to turn my camera back off so you don't have to watch me eat. But I'm here and excited to be here.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. I see Lynn Varney is next.
Hi, I think I jumped in a little bit late. Sorry about that. But I was really attracted to the title as well, about authenticity and finding my voice. So it's really exciting. And I've been getting the ChIME emails for quite some time and am discerning at this time about joining the program.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Lynn. And Susan Vittner. Hi, Sue.
Hi.
Sue.
I'm Sue Vittner, and I live in Portland, and I love the title of this. And I also just got home, so I'm going to eat and turn my camera off, but I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Sue. Okay, and I get to do the last one. Sarah, are you there? I don't know if she's muted herself. This last one is my daughter, Sarah Hyde. So I don't know. She's got 2 small children. So when she said she was going to join, I said, sweetie, you are going to mute yourself. So Sarah, are you there? I don't know if she's going to. Okay. I'm going to let her be because she has a very rambunctious 3-year-old and a 3-month-old, and we might not hear her over that, but I'm delighted that she's there. And whoa.
We're gonna assume she's there and listening. And Leslie, did you want me to do the chime?
Yes. Okay. I would love to do that. Wait. Oh, Sarah's just coming back in.
Oh, okay. I see that. Oh, wait a second.
Oh, there she is. Okay. Before we do. Oh, there. Hi, sweetie.
Sorry. I'm on my phone. He's been dying to introduce himself.
Okay. Hi, this is my grandson, Jude. It's Nana. Hi, Jude. Yeah. Okay.
Try to fix this truck now.
We won't take up too much. We're
Okay.
really happy to be here.
Okay. I love you, and I'm going to ask you to mute yourself. Bye. Okay, Myra, go right ahead and ding us in.
Okay. Thank you all for coming tonight, and we are going to do our, I call it a chime because it's kind of what we're all about, and it'll help center us. And I joke that since I went to ChIME, I'm like Pavlov's dog. Every time I hear any kind of bell or chime, I immediately go inward and centered, and it's really wonderful, but it's kind of funny. So I will ring us into a moment of silence and grounding and centering, and then I'll ring us out again.
Thank you, Myra.
Thank you. Take it away, Leslie.
Okay. I am incredibly happy to see so many people here today. And what that tells me is what a hunger there is for this topic. This is something that I really have been thinking about my whole life. But ever since ChIME, and I will sort of explain how ChIME honed it for me, it feels like this is a time in our world where the need for authentic voice, and it's interesting that it's mostly women. I'm going to say I connect it to the divine feminine. And I think it is what is going to, if we are to be saved, it is up to every single one of us to find our truth and to stand in it and to speak it, because it is what changes the world. And I have found that firsthand. So I want to start by saying, as I was putting down thoughts this afternoon, probably the most authentic thing I can say is that I don't have the answers. And I grew up in a family where we were supposed to know everything and never admit that you didn't know anything. And one of the most powerful things I've learned is to say, what a great question. I don't know. Let's see if we can find that answer together. But I have been working on this and collecting. I have a folder about 2 inches thick of sayings and meditations on this topic. So I have insights and observations and things that have worked for me. But what I'm going to do after I talk for a little bit is have us break out, because what I really want is for you guys to explore your own authentic voices. So I will talk about what it feels like and when I use it for me, but then I want you to explore when you use it, and equally importantly, when you don't, and what that feels like, what that looks like, what that smells like, what that resonates for inside. So I'm going to start by saying that I love words. I always have. And words matter. Energetically, when we speak something that we want or need, it changes things. I had said to somebody I had lunch with 2 years ago I'm really tired of doing all this work and never getting paid for it, because every single thing on that resume was a volunteer job. And a year and a half later, the cemetery across the street from me, I didn't know she was on their board, called up and said, we need somebody to run the cemetery. Will you do it? And I now am making a great salary and doing funerals and doing chaplaining and running the cemetery, all because I spoke something out loud. It's almost like giving birth. I was a religion major and I read Genesis in Hebrew. I just read Genesis. That was all I could do for one. And the word, does anybody raise your hand know the word Ruach? Okay. It means the breath of God. And it is literally breathing life into things. When you speak things out, you're breathing life into them. So I feel like the act of speaking from that place of truth is really powerful and important. And I will also say that being heard is healing. I named my counseling service Listening Hearts very deliberately. I'm not an LSW, I'm a chaplain, but I listen to people. I give them a safe space to be heard and to be seen. And I believe that is the starting of healing, when somebody is authentically seen and heard and allowed to be seen and heard. And one of the things I really want us to do is to give ourselves permission to inhabit our own lives, to inhabit our own voices. We're so often, I'm going to say this, it's in a society that has a lot of patriarchal systems. Women of power and intellect and articulateness who are speaking against the current systems get dismissed, they get insulted, they get ignored, they get diminished. And I have experienced that in my own life, even as a town councilor in my own town, even as the chaplain for the police department. And I've now come to understand that when I'm speaking my truth, and for me, it's a resonance. I feel it. I feel it. I know when I'm doing it. I am present and open and paying attention. And it's coming from a place where the words almost have their own life. And when I say it and someone in power doesn't like it and is unkind to me, I used to react to that and think, wait a minute, I just said something really brilliant. What's wrong with you? And now I think, thank you. I touched a nerve. I've challenged you. I've threatened you in a way that you don't like. So I now see that reaction from people in power, if I'm saying something that is potentially threatening, as a sign that I'm doing something right. And it's hard. We all have been in that place where we've been diminished, where we've been made to feel less than. And I think one of the pieces of growth I've experienced in connecting with my authentic voice, which for me is my higher self, my observer self. It's my connection to the divine. And the more I do it, the stronger it gets. And so it becomes easier to see other people's authenticity and lack of authenticity, if you will. And I don't mean to say that I'm an expert in this, because the growth for this, here's the thing, we weren't taught as children. I wasn't taught. I don't mean to co-opt your childhoods, but I started out by saying words matter, and the words we say to ourselves are the ones that matter most. That tape that you have inside your head that sometimes you don't even know is playing, that tape started when we were little. And it's the tape that informs us. It's the tape that says to me when I think, I'm going to start a business about authentic voice. I want to do workshops and I wanted people to tell me and I want to tell them and I want to get excited. And then that little tape goes, are you out of your mind? You can't do that. That's not. And so to be able to, if not dismantle that tape, to be able to recognize it, to be able to see it and hear it and say, that was a tape that I learned as a kid from my parents who did the best they could with the tools they had at hand. But I somehow, and I, whoever's got my child in her group, we all do it. I know I've done it to her. We all pass on sort of messages of brokenness that we need to recover. And so I think childhood, when you're looking at authentic voice, I think looking at your childhood, and for me, I was the youngest of four. There were 4 children in 5 years. Myself and my eldest sister were born on the same day. So in exactly 5 years, there were 4 kids. So we would sit around the dining room table and I didn't have a voice. I didn't have a voice. I couldn't be heard over and we're all a bunch of talkers and we're all intellects. And, so what I did was I did things. I did the chores. I did the dishes. I did everything to please people because that's how I got attention. And what happened for me is that I remember when I was in my 20s and I was going to therapy, my heart had just been broken. So I went to a therapist and I was talking to this woman and she said, tell me if you recognize this. Leslie Hyde, you have the best verbal fancy footwork I've ever seen in my life. I thought, what the hell is that? And she said, you know what people need before they do. And you give it to them. And she was pretty smart. I think she was right. But what happened is I'd spent my whole, formative life figuring out what other people needed. So that meant I had never asked myself what I needed. I didn't know what I needed because my identity and my comfort was in making other people happy. And I recognized, and I still do recognize that, sorry, I went away for a second. That in understanding what makes me happy, what's important to me means I have to take responsibility for myself. It's my life and my happiness. And when you get your vision of who you are from other people, when your identity is reflected in 1,000 little mirrors, you get all these positive reinforcements, but there are all these fractured little pieces of who you are. And all of a sudden, when you look in the mirror at who you are, you have to take responsibility for yourself. And it's quite scary. I actually did a funeral the other day and I was talking about this woman who was my mentor, who was deeply authentic. And I said in the funeral that the French word for heart is cœur, which is the basis of our word courage. And I love that as somebody who loves words and authenticity, because to live authentically is a courageous act. It is not easy at all. So, and it requires, and now here I'm going to do, I'm going to do a little piece about ChIME, because my whole life has led me to where I am now. But ChIME was sort of a pivotal place in my life. I had been elected to the town council and I was up for re-election, and the town manager said I was the only person ever who didn't run for re-election who would have been re-elected, because I knew I wanted to go to ChIME. I knew that in using my voice as a town councilor, where I had been heard and validated, that ChIME would be a place that would enhance that. And the skills that, and you guys can all talk about this who've just graduated from there, but the skills that are critical I think, for findings, for standing in your truth are, first of all, you have to slow down. You have to turn off the television. You have to tune into you. You have to pay attention with openness and curiosity. And that, which also means you're not allowed to judge yourself. You have to, instead of saying, God, I can't believe I said that, saying, why did I say that? And getting curious about it, and getting, and taking the time, which we don't do. And that also involves something that ChIME talks about a lot, which is self-care. You have to, and involved in self-care is that ability to accept yourself for who you are, to just really embrace, because you can't speak from your truth if you aren't comfortable with who you are. And part of it is, this for me has happened, I'm in my late 60s. This, the older I get, the more comfortable I get in inhabiting my skin. So the final piece, because I really want time for breakout groups and you guys to talk to each other, but the final piece for me is embodying my emotions. This is something that was new to me. I never, and maybe you guys all know about it, but I really started making friends with my shadow self, which meant when I was angry, when I was despairing, when I was, fearful. And God knows with the pandemic, there was plenty of time to practice this. I started, okay, where does fear, does it settle in my belly? And does anxiety make my shoulders tighten? And does my throat close when I'm, unwilling to speak my truth? There's a woman called Louise Hay who has this wonderful book about metaphysical reasons for physical ailments. And she said, which I used to get all the time as a kid, sore throats. A sore throat is angry words stuck in your throat. So think of me as a little kid trying to please everybody, and I got sore throats all the time. So, and it doesn't mean that it just is a question to ask yourself. So when you're feeling a darker emotion, if you can place where it is in your body, it helps you recognize it next time. It helps you welcome it. And I honestly think that those darker emotions have really powerful messages for us that we need to listen to. And so I like that idea of recognizing them. Rumi has that wonderful poem about the guest house that basically says, welcome everything in, welcome every emotion, every joy, despair, anger, fear, curiosity, and sit down with them and have a cup of tea. So I love befriending all of your emotions. And I think, this is way too hard too immense a topic for half an hour, but I want to stop there and, put us into breakout rooms. And I want to ask people to discuss, and Myra, I'm going to let you do the math of, 3 or 4 people tops. And I'd like to give you 15 or 20 minutes because it's a big topic and I want your voices. I don't just want mine. And I invite you to answer one of these 2 questions. When have you used your authentic voice? And how did it feel? And what happened? Or when did you not use your authentic voice? And what stopped you? And how did you feel when you recognized, damn, I should have said that and I didn't? So Myra, can you do breakout rooms? Does everybody get that? Okay. And we'll see you back here in, what do you think, Myra? You're the timer.
Say 15 minutes.
Oh, right. And the other thing.
Oh, I'll let her in.
The other thing I'd like to say is, depending on our time, maybe you want to choose one person from your group to report back because I'm not sure we're going to have time to hear from everybody, but, give each other time and space and use your authentic voices and talk to each other and come back in 15 minutes and let's report back in. Sound good?
Sounds great. Thanks, Leslie. I did put in the chat, not everything that you said, but I said Leslie's prompts for breakout rooms is, when do you remember a time when you used your authentic voice, and or was there a situation when you did not use your authentic voice? And you just expounded on that and said, what did it feel like?
But that's important to me because I feel like I know when somebody speaks authentically, it doesn't have to be pretty or eloquent. I just know they're speaking their truth. So I also want to hear what that feels like, what that smells like, what that looks like, and employ all senses you want to use when you use it. Mary, you're an artist, right? So it might be colors. It's use what, it doesn't have to make sense to be authentic. So, go have fun with this, you guys, and listen to each other. And I'll see you in 15 or 20 minutes. But I hope you found that rich and fulfilling. Everybody's back. Yay. Okay.
I'm just going to have to say something quickly.
Yes.
I have to leave, but I just didn't want to quit out without saying anything, but I had to leave right around this time. But I just want to say thank you very much. This is a subject right on the top for me too. I've been working on this subject also. So thank you so much. I thank you. So
Peggy, you and I will continue this conversation in person.
Yes, great. All right, goodbye, everyone.
Hi, Peggy. And I think one other person who needed to leave about now.
Yes.
Was it Kate?
That's me.
Okay.
We won't make you go. Stay as long as you want.
Right.
I will make a gracious exit right now. Thank you so much, Leslie. Thank you for your wonderful work. And ChIME, keep it up, please. And thanks.
Great to see you, Kate. Thank you. So did people choose somebody to report in? Or do people just want, we don't have that many people. So if anybody wants to share, Mary.
I was sort of like the default scribe because I was the only one taking notes.
Okay.
Except I have to tell you, I hardly took any, I took the briefest of notes. But what I remember of what we were talking about, first, Joyce made a point that I thought was, it made things very easy for me to understand the way that I think. About the difference between resonance and dissonance. Resonance when, you speak the truth and it resonates within you and you know that that's right. And dissonance when you've done something different and it just doesn't line up. And I don't remember ever putting those words together that way before. And I thought that I wrote that down because I thought it was apt. That, and we spoke a lot about family patterns and, just the difficulty, in breaking them, but it can be done. And
Mary,
Joyce, do you remember anything more? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
You're muted.
Yeah, no, I think you've got it, Mary. We talked also about our joy in witnessing women coming into their, into their voice and the liberation, and spoke some to that as well.
And I'm gonna, I don't want to come on everybody's, but Mary, the family pattern piece, which is incredibly hard to break, but I used to say to Sarah, who's gotten off, so now I used to say, sweetie, try and break that negative tape inside your head. And she goes, Mom, how the hell do I do that? And I said, the first step is to recognize it. The first step is to breaking a family pattern is to identify it and to say, oh, this is something that I heard when I was 10, or this is something. It's like you can't fix something until you know it's there. So just even looking at family patterns and the impact they've made, I think is the first step towards unmolding that. Anybody else have thoughts on their breakout rooms?
Hi. Well, I guess I was the spokesperson, but we didn't really start wrapping it up until we got the 59-second warning. And so I think some of the points is that Rebecca was saying that that women are more and more trying to find their authentic selves, and they're getting supported in that. And we had a couple of examples of people leaving jobs suddenly for unfair conditions, or just that the things were not right, things were not okay, and delivering a message to the employer, even if crying, still leaving there knowing that you did the right thing and feeling good about yourself. And we also discussed, Rebecca, chime in if you need to, grounded in your own authentic space and not even thinking about material things. And then I lost you after that.
I think it was just that I think what you guys were like, oh yeah, that, and correct me if I'm wrong, was saying like when you create that space,
yes,
all those worries about the bills and, whether it's quitting a job or just doing what you need to do to honor who you are,
right?
You're happy, even though those tangible things that should worry you and that should make you stay in the job, you're like, wait, no, this actually feels really good. And it gets to the essence of who you are.
Right.
Instead of being driven by who you're supposed to be and what's supposed to matter.
Yeah. That's it.
Oh, I think that's so important, because part of listening to ourselves is tuning out some of the messages of the world. Yeah. And some of the messages of the world are just what you guys are talking about, which is you're winning if you have a big car and a big house and a lot of money. And if you talk to very successful people who've achieved all those things, they often feel like, like they're fakers, and they don't feel fulfilled at all. And I do believe that living in your truth and becoming the person you were born to be is what brings us the most intense sense of satisfaction and happiness.
Right.
And that is, but that's pretty hard because you're getting that messages from everywhere. And so being able to trust in yourself and know, and I will say without question, every time I've listened to my authentic voice and I've acted on it, every time it has worked out for my best good, without question. So I think you guys are right. Thank you. Anybody else got something they want to share?
Well, we also spoke about how physically how it feels when you're speaking your truth as opposed to when you're not. That like you can actually feel that in your body. And another thing that came up, with the family patterns is like how difficult it can sometimes feel in close relationships to be authentic. And there was a statement made about finding a way to finding a way to deliver the message in a way that it could be received. And while that's necessary, I think it's also necessary if you're in a situation where your message isn't going to be received, to speak it anyway, to speak it honestly and be assertive. And in my family, even be aggressive with the message if you have to be, to avoid being shut down. So some of those family dynamics can really, really be tough to get through. But, once you find a way to get through that, and as I say, to throw the bullshit flag on it, the first time you speak your truth in an environment like that, it's difficult, but the next time it's so much easier, and so much easier after that, until you get to a place where it's like, this is who I am. In the fullness of who I am, I can say what I need to say, regardless of the environment that I'm in, because that is my authentic voice.
I would say to you, not only does it get easier, but it's amazing the seeds you plant that you don't even know. I mean, might not. I saw somebody this weekend in New Jersey that I had seen. We had taken a train ride out from New York when I was in my 20s. I'm in my 60s. And he said, we had a conversation about his life and his future. He said that changed the direction of his life forever. I find out about it 40 years later. I don't even remember what the heck I said to him, but I do deeply believe when you are speaking from that place of compassion and truth for the other as well as you plant seeds and amazing things happen. So thank you.
I agree with that, Leslie. You may never get to know,
right?
But
Okay.
if you're in that place where you're always settled in yourself and your own voice, the seeds you plant are going to be good ones anyway. So, but
Totally.
one of the things that came up, we talked about, the kindest teacher you ever had. Everybody has one. Everybody remembers that person. I'm in my 60s too, and I can still tell you it's Mrs. Weems from my 4th grade class in Oklahoma. And she planted seeds with me 58 years ago.
Yeah, thank you, Val. I appreciate that, and I agree. Now, anybody who hasn't spoken want to share something? We've got a couple more minutes.
We talked a little bit about the physical sensations of when you're speaking your truth, and how, like, for me, it's my throat it hurts, it feels tight. And it's almost more about what I'm thinking, how the other's going to receive it. And that's what's causing the pain, as opposed to it's my truth that's causing the pain.
Okay, wait, say that again.
So like the physical pain, like if my throat hurts, if I'm speaking my truth, it's more about what I'm thinking of the person, how they're going to receive it, versus it's my truth causing the pain.
Right.
So it's my mind creating this discomfort in my body.
And does it, after you've spoken it and you've heard their reaction, does it change how you feel, how your throat feels?
It feels like I feel whole, maybe settled, even though when it's speaking it hurts or it comes out shaky or something. Yeah, but I think once it's said and done, and even if that person has a bad reaction, it's still okay, this is just my truth and I can live with myself, as opposed to the opposite of just saying what I think they want to hear. Then that feels like not grounded, probably.
Right. I find sometimes, and I'm thinking of when I'm a police chaplain and I get called to what we call critical incidents, which means somebody has died. or I have to tell parents in the middle of the night that their child has died. And the one thing I do every time when I get in the car, and I'm an over preparer, and these are situations where you can't prepare. You get the phone call at 2:00 in the morning, you got to get in the car and go. And I say the same thing every time, which is, please, Goddess, God, whoever your spirit is, let me get out of the way so you can come through. And so what's so amazing now to me is I don't take credit for what happens because it's not my words. I can literally tell when I've gotten out of the way. And sometimes I don't say anything, and sometimes but I do and say what I just trust that I am in that zone. And that feels like ultimate authenticity to me. And because I've been doing it for a couple of years, it's gotten a little easier to do. So I just sort of go into this mode, but it really is. That's why for me, authentic voice is so connected to the sacred, to the divine, because I'm aware of getting out of the way so that something bigger than me can come. Because if you're telling somebody that their child just died, you cannot fix that. So I just want to be present. And Myra and I were talking in the break about how important presence is to this entire process, to being present to other people, as Val was saying, in her family, or to be present, Sue, you to caring, but to be present to yourself. It is something that it's a skill we need to develop, and to be present and to be connected to the divine at the same time, I think is kind of the mathematical formula for me that gives you true self. And anybody else have anything else that I just realized I'm trying to, Autumn or Nadia or Kate, somebody who has, and you don't have to, but if you have something you want to say, we'd love to hear from you.
I guess I'll go. I had shared that I had put on Facebook a couple of posts that stirred up a little bit of hornet's nest with some of my more conservative Catholic friends, who are people that I used to be like in a way, but I've broadened my worldview somewhat. And so it was rather interesting to be dialoguing with them. And then I'm saying all that just to say that I'm finding my authentic voice too. And it's taken a long time, but just this last year in ChIME has really helped an awful lot for me in that regard. So, yeah, I wrote a letter to the editor of a magazine because there was a joke in there that was really in bad taste considering all the gun violence there's been. But I prayed over it, thought about it, wrote the email, got up this morning and sent it again with an edited title because I realized the title I sent yesterday probably would have made them think I was throwing out the whole magazine, not just the bad joke. So they responded to it and they said, yeah, we agreed. And this did go to publication before, Buffalo and Uvalde. So we'll be cognizant of that going forward. So it was nice to have spoken up and been heard.
And were you at all nervous before you pressed the send button? Did you have a little flutter, or were you confident?
Sometimes I more had that when I was making the Facebook post, but this time I think because I started out the email by saying that I enjoyed the magazine and the history of Maine that it covers, and plus I find new businesses to support, new local businesses to support, and I said, but I just have an issue with this last paragraph in this article, and it was a stupid joke, but face value, it could have been funny just because of the sheer stupidity of it. Right. But I said, being this gun violence is an ongoing heartache, I said, maybe that wasn't the best choice. And I had titled the email "Throwback That Should Be Thrown Out." And so this morning when I got up, I thought, oh, they're going to think I'm thinking about the entire magazine. How do I recall this? Well, I can't recall the email. So I just opened it, what I had sent, and I edited the title to "Bad Joke is a Throwback that should be thrown out." And I sent that one, and it said edited. So they got both of them, but they saw what I had done, and so they responded to the one that said edited. So.
Well, and I'm going to keep, Myra, you've got to keep us on time, but I want you, what you guys are, what you just talked about reminded me of the Me Too movement, which is absolutely a perfect example of women speaking their truth and having a seismic change. And so I think when you see something, and I loved that you said, because I think it's authentic to say, I love your magazine and I like your content. I think my authentic voice always tries to find the highest self I'm talking to, which I think helps people see their best selves and want to be their best selves. So to say you're a great magazine and you're better than that joke is, to me, a very authentic thing. You're not sucking up to them. You're not saying, you're being authentic, and in a way where you can be heard. So to me, and everybody has their own style. I'm just talking about mine. So
if I had come out with, pardon the expression, guns a-blazing, that wouldn't have really solved anything. I really had to make sure that I could relate to them and get them in a position where they can hear what I wanted to say.
And I think that's a little bit what's happening in our political discourse. And I think, and I'm not saying placate everybody, but if we can find a way to talk to people who disagree with us, with our higher self, and not descend into the, sort of name calling baseness of some of the media outlets, I think that's our way forward. And now, Myra, you tell me what we need to do time-wise.
I think we're good for, at least a few more minutes. And I wanted to add something, but I see somebody, Joyce, you're unmuted. Did you have something you wanted to add? I don't want to.
I didn't. I do need to leave. I didn't know I was unmuted.
It's okay.
But thank you very much. I do need to go.
So good.
Thank you for coming, Joyce.
Thanks, Leslie. Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye. So is there somebody else? I don't want to speak over participants who've come. So speak now before I.
Yeah. Nadia.
I add something to what I was in the group with Val. Just that I've been working on lately. I've been feeling more confident in speaking my truth. One of the challenges that I've been coming across is helping other people speak their truth, especially when it may not be socially acceptable in some situations. Currently, I'm working as a teacher, and I'm working with very young children having their first school experience. So one girl just, really missing her mom and crying, and clearly doesn't have the skills yet to interact socially with the other kids, to play, to feel safe. So I was just trying to give her the words so that she could communicate her needs, and so that she could feel safe enough to play and explore.
That is a huge piece of authentic voice, Nadia, in my opinion, is to create the space and to model the ability to allow other people to do the same thing. So I really appreciate you saying that, because it is important for us to find it for ourselves, but also to model it and encourage it in other people, and to sort of get back to what Lori was saying, to not speak over somebody when they disagree and say, okay, to allow for genuine, authentic conversation, especially with little kids, Because imagine if we had learned as young children that it was safe to speak our truth and not to dwell in this world of you should do this or you have to do this, how different it would be. So thank you. I really appreciate that.
Thanks, Leslie.
Okay, anybody else want to chime in?
Leslie, I'd like to pipe in really quick on that. That was actually, something that was heavy on my mind during this conversation, is how important having a safe space. And I feel kind of like a billboard for ChIME, but it's true for me. Having a safe space in ChIME and having particularly woman mentors who were modeling for me what it was like to use authentic voice. And I still need that. I still need that wisdom in my life. And so one of the greatest lessons from ChIME has been to make sure that I maintain an attitude of I don't know, and surrounding myself with people who are going to help me have a learning lab to practice my authentic voice, because I don't always get it right. And I would just add really quickly, and that another part for me was sort of welcoming. For me, I get stomach aches, right? That's how I know that I'm about to be in a situation where I'm going to be authentic and I don't want to be, or I'm afraid around it. And so how do I mean, of course, it's not fun to have a stomach ache, but how do I not welcome it? How do we learn to coexist, right? How do I treat it with compassion? And so this process for me has been about learning to chaplain self more so than others. Because if I'm going to meet somebody else with my higher self, I need to learn how to be in touch with that. And that can be my problem, is sometimes I have difficulty connecting with that. And if I'm not connecting with that, then I'm certainly not going to be able to relate to someone else's higher self in any way. Because I can definitely be a freight train who doesn't have a lot of tolerance for BS. And that's not always received. That's not always the most compassionate stance, I guess, is what I'm getting at. But thanks for letting me share.
Well, and what I love about that, Autumn, the stomach ache, when I was talking about embodying emotions, that's a perfect example, that any physical sign, or Sue talking about the throat hurting, those, your body signals that you're doing something scary and that requires bravery and heart and standing in your truth. Those are such powerful signals that your body is telling you when you get a stomach ache. Oh, okay, I'm standing on the edge of something powerful, and I now know that I can move forward, or I can say this. And I think all of those are tools. And I will agree with you. I don't know how many of you are looking into ChIME, but I too am a poster child 7 years out. It is such an amazing place to explore with other people who know as little as I did. So we're all exploring together with amazing teachers who allow you to, in a place, and I agree with Autumn, where safety is paramount. You're questioning, and your sort of not knowing is encouraged. And so ChIME really was probably of 60, 70 years of looking to explore this voice. ChIME was probably the single biggest factor I had that set me on this path. So I just, I know we're going to have some questions about ChIME at the very end of this, but any other final, anybody else want to say anything about authentic voice before we sort of shift the focus? Yeah. Yes.
Are you saying yeah to me?
Yes, I am. Sorry. Yes, Myra.
Yes. Well, Nadia talked about children, and then Autumn was talking about safe space. And I thought, sometimes, and this is a phrase I learned at ChIME, what we feel, what we have is not speech ripe.
Oh,
and
I like that.
If we're not able to be verbal in a way that we can communicate, that can be so frustrating. And it reminded me of, my toddlers when they were little, just teaching them a few sign language things before they were able to really express, and that it really cut back on their frustration level and crying, and that's because they were able to get their message across. And I just thought, being present with somebody who is feeling that in their throat or their stomach and everything, just acknowledging that it's okay if the words are not there, if the words are not speech ripe, and that listening, amplifying our authentic voice can also mean having compassion for when we don't have words to express that. Oh, and one more, the other thing I wanted to say was, years ago, I read somewhere, and I've used this, and it has worked so good, I try to tell everybody I can about it. And it said, when you have a moment when that voice in your head that you want to be bigger and to recognize, and that authentic voice, when you want that to be bigger, when that happens, like they use the example of going into a parking lot and your inner voice is like, there's a parking spot to the left, and you turn left and there's that parking spot. And when you have those moments when you're like, oh, I listened to my inner voice, you're to do this. I want more of that. And you pat yourself on the back. You say out loud, words have power. I want more of that. I want that voice to get stronger. And man, does that work, because subconsciously, you know, words have power anyway, but subconsciously, when we are reinforcing that, when those moments happen, that's the voice. Hello, that's the one I want to get stronger and to be able to recognize. And that has just helped me so much. Of all the voices in my head, I know when that one's talking now.
And that's what I was talking about earlier, about what, you know, the most consistent voice we hear our entire life is our own, right? So what you say to yourself matters more than anything anybody else ever says to you. So when you say, I want more of that, you're saying, I want more of my higher self to be present. I want more blessings. I want more goodness. I want more wisdom. And to ask those things out loud or of yourself is incredibly powerful. So I totally agree with that. And I appreciate you. Thank you. That was terrific. Now, we're getting close to 7:30. Do we have final questions or I know we're supposed to ask about, do people, okay, I'll just shut up and Myra, you take over.
Well, Leslie, this is such a great topic, and I'm sure, you know, when you start doing workshops and that we can spend more time on it, that you'll get lots of interest in that. And I know you put your contact info in the chat for people who might want to contact you to be on your email list if you are doing these in the future.
Because I'm going to do a series of, this is way too big to be one. I want to do a series of in-person workshops. My contact information is in the chat. Please contact me if you're interested in coming to a future one, or even if you just want to talk about this more, because this is something I'm pretty passionate about. But I also do want to give some space if there are people who are interested in asking questions about ChIME who haven't been, and there are lots of ChIME alumni here who can answer. But if you have a question about the school, don't be shy.
Yeah. Or the curriculum or the program or what night of the week. I mean, ChIME is usually one night a week, and it's geared towards people who might have a day job. So it's evening class, and then one weekend a month. So very doable in that way. Any other questions that people might have for us ChIMers?
Hey, yeah.
I was curious, what night of the week is that for the fall session? Do you know yet what night that will be?
Yes. I have to get it straight in my head, because the first years had Mondays and Wednesdays, and they are keeping Mondays and Wednesdays, even though they'll now be second years. So that means the first year classes are going to be Tuesdays and Thursdays.
But so Kate, in case you choose, you don't do both of those because you said one night a week, right? Okay. So you have a choice of Monday or Wednesday if you're first year, Tuesday or Thursday.
No, the other way around. Tuesday or Thursday for first years. Now, I know I was like, well, why aren't we doing it, always keeping the first years on the same day? And the dean said, well, because the people who've already done a year put aside Mondays and Wednesdays. Okay. So they're able to, they keep those days, and we just bring new people in on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
And it's 3 hours on either a Tuesday or a Thursday. And then there's weekend workshops once a month where you have a Saturday and a Sunday where both classes get together. So everybody, all students get together. So,
what time do classes start on those evenings?
They 5:30 to 8:30 they run, and there's hybrid. There's ability to be in person or a blended class on Zoom. So we've got people, from New Hampshire, Massachusetts, even farther away that do the Zoom classes, and then they come down or up for the weekends, because we try to do those in person if we can. Obviously, the past few years have been iffy with COVID, so we've done a lot more on Zoom or hybrid, trying to live stream something while it's going on. But that's been a good lesson for us. And we can open this program up to people who aren't in New England, who are even farther away, and try to have that component of a little bit of online and a little bit of in person. Any other questions for ChIME?
Yes, there will be another workshop in July, correct?
Yes, open house is what we call these.
Okay.
And they're usually donated by alumni, so the alumni come and do a presentation on something. July is a special one because we've asked a few of the 2022 graduates, the ones who just got ordained, to be on a panel discussion with the question, what ordination means to me. So you'll get several points of view, and the whole class, everyone, it's just so impressive. And there is a recording coming out of that ordination, and boy, if you get a chance to find that on our website and to watch that, each of the 16 ordinands got 90 seconds to talk about the where ChIME brought them to and where they're going. And they were all so impressive and wonderful. Don't you think, Leslie?
Oh my God. It is the best advertisement for ChIME you could possibly have. And I also got to see a couple of the senior projects. It's an amazing group that just finished and I consider ChIME's graduating classes a gift to the world, because they go out, and it's not always in ways you would think, but they change the world, and it's always for the better. And it's if you can see the ChIME ordination, take a look. Even if you just look at the, go to the part where the 16 of them say their piece, it's breathtaking. And that could be you at some point. I'm not trying to make a sale, but ChIME is for me, it was a game changer.
Yeah. Best decision I ever made, I tell people. Yep. So come to that July 20th open house. It's going to be the same time frame, 6 to 7:30. And for people who have already expressed a possible interest in maybe coming to ChIME, if you're okay with it, we'll get your email from this format and send you some more information so that you can ask more questions or anything like that. If you haven't verbally said anything and you want to put it in chat real quick, just say, yes, send me info. We'd be more than happy to do that for you. And I'm here. I'll stay a little later if anybody wants to talk more, but for those who need to go, I want to be respectful of time and say thank you so much for coming tonight. And thank you, Leslie, for this wonderful wonderful topic, and I wish you all the best of luck in all the workshops you're going to do.
I really hope I see all of you, because my goal is to get women like you who are articulate and intelligent and present and have a conversation that's more than me just talking about it. I want to set the framework, and then I want to hear from women about more of what we've been talking about authentic voice and when it works and when it doesn't, and how we can inspire others and teach ourselves and teach others. So if you are interested, my email is in the chat, or if you don't find it, Myra will have it, or you can call the Yarmouth Police Department. But yeah, please contact me if you want to be part of this experiment going forward, because I think it's going to be really important. And I really want women like you to be a part of this conversation. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for showing up. And I hope to see all of your lovely souls again soon.
Thank you. Thanks, Leslie. Thanks,
Okay.
Myra.
Bye.
I'm not seeing Leslie's information in the chat.
Oh.
I'm not either.